So hello students, today we are going to start with module 5, which is on real-time operating system and integrated development environment for embedded system design. Okay, so basically in this particular module we are going to discuss about what is real-time operating system and what are the integrated development environment available for the embedded system design. Okay, so let's start with the first topic, which is operating system basics. So the term operating system is not that new to us, right? Because we are using this operating system in our day-to-day life, in our computers, laptops, and even in the mobile phones, right? So we have like Windows operating system or Linux operating system in our computers or a laptop, or a iOS or Android operating system in our mobile phones, right? So what basically this operating system means? So the operating system acts as a bridge between the user applications or tasks and the underlying system resources through a set of system functionalities and services. So basically the operating system is nothing but the bridge between the system resources and the applications. Okay, so system resources are nothing but the memory, the RAM of that system. Okay, and applications are nothing but a particular task or application which you are running on that particular system. Okay, so the OS manages the system resources and make them available to the user applications or the task on a need basis. So OS is gonna operating system is gonna manage this system resources and making it available for the applications. A normal computing system is a collection of different IO subsystem working and the storage memory. Okay, so that particular computing system obviously will have some input output subsystems, working of that input output subsystem with that, and storage memory, so where we are storing some data or even the program. Okay, the primary functions of the operating system is make the system convenient to use and organize and manage the system resources efficiently and correctly. So it is making the operating system is making that particular system convenient to use. Okay, and it is also managing and organizing the system resources. Now next is the kernel and its services. So the kernel is core of the operating system and is responsible for managing the system resources and the communication among the hardware and the other system services. So kernel is nothing but the core of the operating system. Now here you can observe the diagram that shows the operating system architecture, where we have at the bottom as an underlying hardware. Okay, on top of that we have kernel services or the operating system, and above that we have the user applications. Okay, so that is what the kernel services or the operating system act as the kernel services or the kernel act as abstraction layer between the hardware and the application. Okay, now you can see that the underlying hardware is communicating with the kernel services with the device driver interface, and one more thing we can see that the user applications and the kernel services are communicating through application programming interface. Okay, we are going to discuss this thing in more detail. So let's discuss about what are the services provided by the core of the operating system, nothing but the kernel. The first one is the process management. The process management deals with the managing the processes and the tasks. So different processes will be running on this system, so that different processes and different tasks need to be managed. That will be done by process management. The process management include setting up the memory space for the process, loading the processor's code into the memory space, allocating the system resources, scheduling and mapping the execution of the process, setting up and managing the process control block, inter-process communication and synchronization, process termination or deletion. So all these things will be managed by process management. So synchronization between the processes, termination or deletion of a particular process, assigning that particular memory to that particular process, all this will be done by process management. Okay. Then you have primary memory management. The term primary memory refers to volatile memory, that is random access memory, where the processes are loaded and the variables and shared data associated with each process are stored. Okay. So whatever the data associated with that particular processes are stored in this primary memory. The memory management unit of a kernel is responsible for keeping track of which part of memory area is currently used by which particular process, allocating and deallocating the memory space on a need basis. So that is called as dynamic memory allocation. So it is gonna allocate a particular memory for that processes. The next is file system management. So file is a collection of related information. So there are different kind of files available. The files could be of program file, text file, image file, word file, or audio visual audio video file. Okay. So each of these files differ in the kind of information they hold and the way in which the information is getting stored. Okay. So because we know that the text file will store the information in the form of text, images in the form of image you have, right? So different form of information will be stored in the different form. The files operations is a useful service provided by the OS. The file system management service of the kernel is responsible for creation, deletion and alteration of files, creation, deletion and alteration of directories, saving of files in a secondary storage memory, that is hard drive or any pen drive. Okay. Providing automatic allocation of the file space based on the amount of free space available. So it will again provide a particular memory where we can store the data and all. It will allocate that particular space for different files. Okay. Providing a flexible naming convention for the file, so we can easily change the name of file and save that particular file with that particular extension. So that will be taken care by file system management. Now next is IO system devices management. IO system or device management. Okay. The kernel is responsible for routing the IO input output request coming from different user applications to the appropriate IO devices of the system. So it is routing the so many different requests is coming out coming from the IO system to this system. So that will be particularly routed by this IO system management to a particular devices. In a well structured OS, the direct accessing of IO devices are not allowed and the access to them are provided through a set of application programming interface APIs. Okay. So always it is not like direct access will be given to the external devices connected to the system. Okay. So if they want to communicate the external devices with the system, this particular APIs need to be there to interface between them. Okay. The services or the service device manager of a kernel is responsible for handling all the IO devices related operations. Okay. So this device manager is gonna handle these IO devices related operations. The kernel talks to the IO devices through the device drivers. The device manager is responsible for loading and unloading of the device drivers, exchanging information and the system specific control signals to and from the device. Okay. So we need to install the device drivers into the system so that the external device can communicate with the system. So that is what is input output system management. Okay. So device drivers need to be there to communicate with the external devices with the system. Then we have secondary storage management. The secondary storage management deals with managing the secondary storage memory devices, if any, connected to the system. So secondary devices management is nothing but secondary devices, memory devices is nothing but you are connecting a hard drive or a pen drive to that particular system. So that will be managed by the secondary storage management. Secondary memory is used as a backup medium for programs and data since the main memory is volatile. Okay. In most of the system, the secondary storage is kept in a disk, hard disk. The secondary storage management service of a kernel deals with disk storage allocation, disk scheduling. Okay. So like whenever you are taking the backup and all, that can be even scheduled. Free disk space management. Okay. So what is the memory, free memory is available in that particular disk, that management will be done by secondary storage management. Then the next service is protection system. So most of the modern operating system are designed in such a way that it supports multiple users with different level of access permissions. Okay, like example of Windows XP, which is having different user permissions as an administrator. Okay, standard. So we in our labs we are having this, right? So it is protection as administrator or a student. So if you are logged with the administrator, it is providing whole access to the system. If you are using login with student, so it will provide a limited access to this particular system. So that is a protection system. Then interrupt handler. A kernel provide handler mechanism for all external or internal interrupts generated by the system. So that is what interrupt handler we have. So these are some of the important services offered by a kernel of an operating system. Now based on the applications, we need the particular operating system, and based on that we are having two different type of kernels. So one is monolithic and another is microkernel. So let's see the difference between the monolithic and microkernel. So a microkernel is a smaller in size and monolithic kernel is a larger in size. Slow execution will be there in the microkernel, fast execution in monolithic kernel. Microkernel is easily extendable, monolithic kernel is hard to extendable. Extendable means if you want to add some particular again new application to it or something, that will be difficult in microkernel. That will be easy in the microkernel. If a service crashes, it does affect on working of the microkernel, but if a service crashes, the whole system in a monolithic kernel will get crash. To write a microkernel, more code is required. To write a monolithic kernel, less code is required. Now let's have an examples of microkernel are QNX, Symbian, L4 Linux are the microkernel operating system, microkernel based operating system, and Linux, BSDs are monolithic kernel operating system. Now here you can see the difference. In monolithic kernel with all operating system services running in the same kernel space. So that is the difference. We can see in microkernel you have two spaces. One is user space. Some of the services are running in the user space and some of the services are running in the kernel space. So that's what we can see, that here only one space is available, kernel space. So this monolithic kernel will be faster, but here two different spaces are available for the services. So it will be a little slower because it has to switch from user space to kernel space and all. Okay, so that's why the micro kernel will be little slower. Then we have types of operating system. So depending on the kernel type, we have two type of operating systems, which is general purpose operating system and real time operating system. So we have already discussed about this, what is general purpose operating system and what is real time operating system. So the operating system are deployed in general computing systems are referred as general purpose operating system. So basically we have in our laptops and computer. The kernel of such an operating system is more generalized and it contains all kind of services required for executing generic applications. General purpose operating systems are often quite non-deterministic in behavior. Their services can inject random delays into the application software and may cause slow responsiveness of an application at unexpected times. So these are in general kind. So non-deterministic behavior, and sometimes a delay will be there in the applications. Okay. General purpose operating system are usually deployed in the computer systems where deterministic behavior is not that important or critical. So response from the system, even if it is there is some delay or there is non-deterministic behavior, that is acceptable. So that's what we are calling them as a general purpose. So the personal computers or desktop system is typical example of this general purpose operating system. Windows XP, MS, DOS are the examples of general purpose operating system. Now the next one is real-time operating system. So real-time implies deterministic timing behavior. So the system has to be respond in that particular time period only. That's what we are calling as a real-time. Deterministic timing behavior or in the RTOS context means OS service consumes only known and expected amount of time regardless the number of services. So how many services it is providing, regardless of that it has to respond in that particular expected amount of time. The real-time operating system or RTOS implements policies and rules concerning time critical allocation of the system's resources. The RTOS decide which applications should run in which order and how much time need to allocated for each application. So the RTOS is going to decide the priorities of the task and how much time has to be allocated for that task. That also will be decided by the RTOS. Predictable performance is the hallmark of well-designed RTOS. So always in what time period it will be responding. So that is what we are calling predictable performance has to be there in the case of real-time operating systems. So what is the real-time kernel then? So the kernel in which the kernel of a real-time operating system is referred as a real-time kernel. In complement to the conventional operating system kernel, the real-time kernel is highly specialized and it contains only the minimal set of services required for running the user applications or the task. So it is not having like a general all services provided by the general operating system. It will have a minimal set of services which are required for that particular application. So the basic functions of a real-time kernel are task or the process management, task or the process scheduling, process synchronization, error or exception handling, memory management, interrupt handling, and time management. Okay. So based on this, like real-time systems, there are two kind of real-time systems. One is hard real-time system and one is soft real-time system. So basically what is the name itself is telling, hard real-time system means we know that what is real-time system means it has to respond in that particular time period. So hard real-time system means the system has to respond in that particular time period for every instant. Okay, so always it has to respond in that particular time period only. If it is not responding for a single time also, it is going to damage that particular system. Okay, and a soft real time means even a particular sometimes that particular system doesn't respond in the particular time period, predefined time period. It may not damage the system, but it will damage the efficiency of that particular system. So that kind of system we are calling as a soft real-time system. So let's see the difference between them. In a hard or a immediate real-time system, the completion or an operation after the deadline is considered useless. Okay, so always it has to follow that particular deadline. This may lead to the critical failure of the complete system. So that's what always the deadline has to be followed. After the deadline we are getting the result is useless. But in a soft real time, even if you are getting the result after the deadline, it is okay, but it will be decreasing the service quality. Okay. Hard real time system are typically found interacting at low level with physical hardware in the embedded system. Soft real-time systems are typically those used where there is some issue of concurrent access and the need to keep a number of connected systems up to date with changing situation. Hard real-time systems are used when it is imperative that an event is reached to within a strict deadline. This soft real-time system can operate to a latency of seconds. Missing a deadline is a total system failure in hard real-time system. So here in a soft real-time system, even if it is missing a deadline, the quality of service will get degraded. The goal of a hard real-time system is to ensure that all deadlines are met. The goal becomes meeting a certain subset of deadlines in order to optimize some application specific criteria in soft real-time system. The preemption period for the hard real-time task is, in the worst case, it will be in a few microseconds, and for soft real-time system it will be in milliseconds. So the example for hard real-time system are car engine control system, medical systems such as heart pacemakers, and industrial process controllers. For the soft real-time system, the software that maintains and update the flight plans for commercial airlines or live audio video system. So that are the example for soft real-time system. So we'll stop here.